establishment of discretionary grants, funding and appeals panels, and the allocation of funding for the crowdfunding projects. So it might be that some of the organisations that are expecting the crowdfunding to be agreed this morning or approved this morning are online. So this recommendation seeks approval to establish 2 new subcommittees of the Cabinet, which oversee the allocation of our discretionary community grants and a new governance structure. An update is provided on the ongoing strategic review of the grants, together with the approvals for the award of funding against a series of community crowd initiatives. So that's just to remind people that we are doing this grants review, which I'm putting together at the moment. So I'm pleased to bring this report forward as part of our ongoing strategic review of the wider landscape of discretionary grants allocated across the city to community organisations. So the first stage is enhancing our governance structures, which is key for allocating grants, which the new procedures and the subcommittees will achieve. Further reports setting out the details and outcomes from the strategic review will come to Cabinet in the coming months. Are people happy with this? Is it approved as a recommendation?
Agreed.
Thank you. Okay, next one is the exemption and award of Scnd service contracts for specialist placements. This is you again, Councillor Logan. This recommendation seeks to approve to award Scnd contracts for specialist placements through a procurement exemption. Would you like to say a few words?
Thank you. Again, this relates directly to what I was explaining earlier, and our use of Scnd provision. This basically improves our ability to commission provision and improves operation for children and young people with Scnd and ensures that we can continue to offer inclusive support.
Thank you very much. Is that approved?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Okay, community model of mental well-being and resilience. This is 4D. This recommendation seeks approval for a contract variation of 2.66 million to support the community model of mental health resilience. Councillor Lake, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So this is an important proposal which seeks to target significant and unmet mental health needs, especially during these unprecedented times with COVID-19. The target approaches will help improve well-being and work to reduce poor mental health and reduce the risk of suicide. This is a coordinated partnership approach and is essential and a great example of how our social care services are responsive and adaptive. So I'm pleased to bring this to Cabinet today. Thank you.
Any other Cabinet members want to make a comment? Okay, Councillor Sarah Doyle.
This is a really important report, considering the impact which COVID-19 has had on our residents' mental health. Our community groups have been at the front line of the local mental health crisis, and it is right to properly invest in them so they can continue their great support.
Thank you. Councillor Logan.
Yeah, I just wanted to add some further context and backdrop to the importance of this report. Through our education department, we've facilitated recently a wide range of mental health survey of children and young people. There's over 12,000 respondents, which is massive. And we're only the results are not yet public, and we only have the preliminary and early indications back. But those early indications are that some of the results are quite stark, basically, and I think will be very big news in the coming weeks. So this is in that context and is very, very important.
Thank you, Councillor Logan. Go on, Harry.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, just a quick comment. I mean, it's already been said, it's been really difficult, 18, 19 months, however long it is now, and I think it's really affected our communities, and we've revalued our own sort of space and lives as such, and actually this is a really positive contribution to our mental health and well-being, and certainly look to explore with the Cabinet member as well how we can introduce that across services in the council as well. How can we, we've got our libraries, leisure centres, etc. in our communities, how they can be bases for actually bringing people in and promoting good mental health and well-being.
Thank you. And the other point, of course, is that we've gone through austerity and we're now going into the £20 cost on universal credit, which is going to put people under even more pressure, and the increase in national insurance. So I think the mental health of many people in the city is going to get worse. It's already bad, and chronic stress and anxiety is very, very damaging physically as well as mentally. Okay, the recommendation set out in the report agreed.
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 Okay, we're now on to 4E. So Telecare Service Pre-Procurement Business Case. This recommendation seeks our endorsement of a pre-procurement business case as part of a review and redevelopment of Telecare services. Councillor Lake, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So the report's really timely and it'll support our ongoing work in developing preventative support services throughout through the use of new technologies. This will enable us to explore the use of assistive technologies to support people to actually stay in their own homes. So it's really important, and I'm really glad that we're bringing this to Cabinet, and it is an area that we're looking at. It is hugely important to ensure and prevent people from becoming institutionalised and being forced into an area where they don't need to be because support either isn't available or isn't possible. So it's a crucial area that we need to look at. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lake. I have friends who use it for really bad COPD and it works really well. Okay, recommendation set out in the report agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed. We've now got partially exempt items. As only certain attendees of these reports are exempt, I propose that we consider both overall reports in public. This is on the basis that we accept that the exemptions remain in place. Before we do so, do Cabinet members have any questions on the exempt appendices? No, so we can remain in public, thank you. So this one is under my portfolio. This is for the long lease disposal of 91 Kempson Street, and it seeks approval to grant a long lease of these premises. This proposal will deliver a capital receipt for the council to use and support services, which is really welcomed. Most importantly, this will support the expansion of a long-standing occupier, helping support the creation of new jobs, as well as safeguarding those already there, and see the premises improved and repaired, which will benefit the wider area. That part of the city used to be in my ward when I first became a councillor in 2002, so I know it well. And this particular company was established in 1864, in the, not quite as old as you, Peter, 1864, and have been at Kempston Street site for over 40 years now. And they've also been involved in the Fabric District visioning. So they're a long-term committed business to the city. So I'm delighted that we're able to do this. If people agree with this, is the recommendation agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed, lovely. And then we're on to we're on to B. Here we are. Liverpool City Region Town Centre Fund, County District Centre. Good news story. This recommendation seeks approval for a revised action plan, reallocation of the budgets and procurement relating to the use of the Town Centre Fund to provide support for County District Centre, one of our district centres across the city. Councillor Sarah Doyle, would you like to say a few words?
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. I'm really pleased to bring this proposal forward as it will help regenerate the district centre by enhancing community facilities such as a Spello Library, and in turn improve access to a wider range of support and opportunities for the local community. Throughout this process, we are also working hard to maximise social value through encouraging the use of local labour and suppliers.
Councillor Logan, and I'll bring in Councillor Glavin at the back.
Thank you. I just wanted to say how important I think it is that moving forward, we're doing what we can to support neighbourhoods across the city, and I think this does that. So it's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Just to give us more of a background than members have got at the moment, and I won't take much time. When the bid was first agreed and given, I was lucky enough to be made chair of what was called the County Road Forum, which envisaged many of the local organisations as well as the housing associations, everything in the community, everything, etc. And I want to make special thanks and recommendations to those officers who've supported this throughout, because when you can see by the report, it goes back a number of years. So it was great when we first started, and then of course the good old COVID comes along and hits. And throughout the whole process, the officers continued to work, continued to make sure that discussions took place. Although that committee, that group never met, they kept in touch with us. They made sure that the organisations were kept fully updated. So it was important. So when this, I would say, hopefully final recommendations comes to Cabinet, the one thing I was asked to do on behalf of Councillor Hanson is that with the big bid, which I think is number on the report here, 2.1.42, the creation of the business support grant, which is £100,000. Initially it was for £5,000 maximum for each of the businesses, and the criteria, we thought, myself and Councillor Hanson spoke to the officers about this and found that we thought the criteria was far too loose, and also that when we got to £5,000, it only would enable 20 businesses out of 200 to hopefully be able to use this resource. The officers went away, spoke to our legal and
Councillor Gladden, just to break in a minute, this is an exempt item, if you remember, so we're agreeing it in public. But I think what will be really useful is, because you obviously know a lot about this because it's your ward.
Oh, I apologise, Chair.
So we just need to agree this, and then I would suggest that we go through the issues directly with Councillor Doyle and the officers, a follow-on after this meeting. Would that be okay?
That will work.
Lovely.
Again,
Okay.
Thank you for giving the opportunity to minute. And I think I wanted to do.
Yeah.
The 4 officers who've been part of this from beginning to end, and they've been fantastic.
Lovely.
Without them, it wouldn't have happened.
Lovely.
Thank you.
And also, just to reference that we had a great day and weekend at the bridge. You and me, Councillor Gladden, under that bridge at the Resi, which was... Oh, and Councillor Harry Doyle as well. It was a great opportunity to celebrate that end of the city. It's fabulous, part of our culture. Okay, so are the recommendations set out in the report agreed?
Agreed.
Lovely. Okay. We have no reports for agenda 5 through to 8, so we now turn to announcements. We have an announcement to make about the retirement of Peter Fay, a person who has been around for several years. Peter, 44. I think that might be a record. Hands up if you know anybody else. So just quickly, the public service in the UK often goes unrecognised, and across our council, indeed across the wider public sector, there is an army of hard-working and long-serving public sector workers whose dedication, commitment and professionalism keeps our essential services going. And that's particularly crucial that they continue to work like that through COVID and under austerity, of course. It's for this reason that today I want to recognise and pay tribute to Peter Fay, one of our longest, I think probably longest rather than one of, but we'll find out, Peter. One of our longest serving employees with 44 years service, who today retires from committee services. It's almost unheard of now to see such long service, and this is very much a tribute to both Peter's long-standing commitment as well as the wider committee services team itself, Chris and Mike. Everyone here today from Cabinet and management team have worked with Peter over many years, and his professionalism, knowledge, experience and integrity have proven invaluable to the council. And we all wish Peter the very best on his retirement. And again, our thanks and congratulations and gratitude for all your contributions over the years. Now, I know Councillor Prince wants to say a few words. Just from my point of view as well, I've been a councillor since 2002, and when the Labour Party took control of the city, and I was Cabinet Member for Education and Children's Services, you were the committee clerk that would come to all of my Cabinet Member briefings, but also you were the committee clerk that supported me with the Fairness and Tackling Poverty Strategy Group, which the Bishop and myself chaired for many years. So just for myself, I'd like to say a big thank you, Peter. Councillor Prince.
Okay. I think, Chair, you've said almost all, but it's a lifetime of commitment to the people of Liverpool, 44 years, several generations, isn't it? One of the few people who can actually remember my first short spell as a councillor as well. And I'd just like to thank him particularly for the last 11 years, because in my time as chair of the Education and Children's Services Select Committee, there were all sorts of changes in those 11 years with various cabinet members and various assistant cabinet members, and children's services being part of the committee and not part of the committee, then part of the committee again, and now not part of the committee. All those things changed, but through all that, there was one stable thing, and the stable thing there through all of it was that Peter was there. And he made what should have been, and actually still is, a very difficult job, because really quite easy, because all the way through he always gave really sound advice. There was no panicking, everything was organised, everything was planned, and that was just effectively a quarter of his service to the people of Liverpool, because that was 11 years worth of it. And we just have to say thank you and wish all the best for the future. Thanks again, Peter, for your lifetime of commitment.
Oh, we've got several more councillors, Councillor Logan and Councillor Lake, and then Peter's going to say a few words as well.
I can't offer a poem, Peter. Like yesterday evening at the Corporate and Permanent Board, someone brought a poem in Peter's honour, and I'm not gonna attempt that at all. But I did want to say, so I've been a councillor since 2019. I was on the Education Select Committee then, and Peter's hard work was, I thought, was clear until then. I was made the chair of a scrutiny panel within that select committee, and there's loads you have to learn there. And Peter was really, really supportive, and it's a lot of the work that the public doesn't see. Do you know what I mean? It's the type of stuff that enables the council to function, but actually no one really sees it happening until you're there, involved yourself. And it's that type of work that often goes unthanked and unappraised for, but Peter's been there doing it for a mainstay over decades, and it's I'm just very thankful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Oh, Councillor Lake, and then we've got Councillor Glavin as well. It's everybody's coming in now.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. From me personally, I just wanted to sort of echo what Councillor Logan's mentioned. Since being elected in 2019, the first select committee I sat on was the Education and Children's Services Select Committee. So I feel like I went through my council journey with Peter throughout that, and then now as a cabinet member where Peter's providing support within children's services. So I feel like I've always felt in safe hands where Peter's been able to help support, offer advice on an impartial basis, and really just the service that's being provided to the children and young people of the city that I think does go unrecognised. People don't understand what's going on behind the scenes. And I think there's so much hard work and dedication from Peter that's been put in. So I'm really thankful to have the opportunity to work with him for the entirety of my political experience so far. So thank you, Peter, and best of luck for the future.
Thanks, Councillor Lake. Councillor Glavin.
Well, since first being elected in 1982, that really lets people know how far Peter goes back, genuinely. And I think we've heard people discussing things about education, but as with committee services, and Peter's a classic example, is as chair of a scrutiny committee, tourism and culture, Peter just moved over. They took care of those kind of the councillors, the orders of business and everything that goes with it. So although they were specialists in certain areas, and John mentioned education and others, it as Peter, as with all others, goes across, and Peter's a classic example of great officers who have got the expertise to help us and guide us. And I think he is one of those who is not many left. And as you said yourself, Chair, generally that those expertise, they move on very quickly now, as we've noticed. But thank you, Peter, for, I think, from everybody from 40 years ago, and not just our colleagues from the last couple of years. So thank you for everything.
Giving away your age there, Councillor Glavin. Councillor Doyle.
Showering your love here throughout me. No, I mean, I won't repeat what everyone said, but again, I started in 2018, and of course, I was a member of the Education and Children's Services Committee from then. And you've been incredibly supportive, and I know that's just from my perspective from 2018. But I think it has been noticed today. A lot of the work that goes on behind closed doors and behind the scenes goes unnoticed by a lot of people in the general public, and it's lovely to put that focus back actually and recognise the work that you've done. And I'll also obviously thank you for the personal advice that you gave at the time as well, but in terms of our shared love of running, or a newfound love for me as well. So I've took a lot of good advice from you, and I am running through those stitches. So just best of luck for the future, and enjoy. Have a happy retirement.
Thank you, Councillor. I think the other thing to say as well is that some people might not know how closely councillors need to work with democratic services, and that's a unique relationship within the council, and they are the engine, if you like, for councillors being able to fulfil their duties. So, you know, you've been a key part of that, Peter, for a very long time. I won't give you the last word, but you will have a word now. Go on.
Deputy Mayor, Cabinet, thank you. It's an actual privilege to sit here today and listen to such comments. I've been quite taken aback by some of the emails and other comments people have said about me recently. This is the best seat in the House, by the way. I've always fancied this over the years. I won't be making any policy statements from this particular position, by the way. Yeah, it has been a privilege to work with you all. It really has. And I'd just like to wish you all well in your corporate improvement work, and particularly my colleagues on the Scnd and Education Improvement Plan. I know there's a lot you have to do in forthcoming years, and I'm sorry I won't be there as part of it, but thank you so much. It's been good.
So, final word. One is that a lot of people in democratic services have come through the old YTS scheme and apprenticeship routes, and it's really crucial that as a council we grow our own workforce with local people coming through from a young age, and that whole in-work training progression is crucial to the values of our Labour Party here, that as we're running the city, but have been for a very, very long time. And you look back over, particularly interestingly, democratic services, and you can see people coming through that route. And the other thing, that the Isle of Man TT will be absolutely delighted, Peter, that you've retired, because I'm sure that they'll give you free tickets over and say, Peter, can you stay longer than you did last time? So thank you so much for your service. It's been brilliant. And it won't be the same without you when you're gone. But thank you very much. Okay, so that concludes our meeting, unless anybody else wants to have anything else to say. No, thank you very much.